Structure Fishing, Jim Shell here, back with a video. I haven't been uploading much. I plan to upload quite a bit this year, but let me just recap a few things here. I mean, I try to keep my channel more educational, learning type of videos, just not fish catching videos. I'm out fishing every weekend. If you guys, those of you that aren't familiar, my son Casey, he has a YouTube channel, Fishcraft. I usually put all of our fish catching videos on his channel, and my video or my channel is more of the education. You know, a lot of Buck Perry's teaching about structure fishing. But I'm gonna try to get some videos out too. The boy Casey is graduating this year, high school. He's going to be starting college in the fall, so I may not have my fishing partner every weekend like I'm used to. So I'm gonna have to start uploading videos on my channel, I guess, of catching some fish. But anyway, I every year I get at least three, four, five, six people email me asking me about my boat every year. You know, what model boat do I have? They want information about my boat, and I've actually tried making this video at least 3, if not 4 years ago. I went outside and I tried shooting it, but there's always a couple cars going by, people walking by, and I just keep on putting it off. I've been putting it off for, like I say, at least 3 or 4 years. So I thought I would do a video talking about my boat, but I'm going to put that at the end of this video. The first half of this video, I'm going to be talking about what you should look for in a boat. You know, there is no perfect boat. The perfect boat for me is not the perfect boat for you, and etc. You can have 10 people, and the perfect boat's going to be different for all 10 of those people. So I'm just going to go over the basics as to what to look for in a boat, what's important in a boat for boat control, and you know, your boat is a tool. So the first half of the video, I'm going to be talking about boats. And the second half of the video, I'm gonna talk about my Triumph boat and give you a little tour of that boat. All right, but talking about boats now, the boat is a tool, you know, and you got to look at it as a tool, and it's a tool we use to present our lures. And we have two ways to present our lures. We can present them casting and trolling. And if you want to be a very versatile fisherman, if you fish a lot of bodies of water, you have to do both. You have to cast, and more importantly, you have to troll. And when I'm talking about trolling, a lot of people that aren't familiar with trolling are dragging lures. There's a big difference. As Buck says, it takes a lot more skill to become a very good troller than it does to become a good caster. You can go out into your backyard and practice for half a day and become a pretty good caster, and cast 30, 40 feet out and hit that target pretty much on every cast with some practice. To become a good troller, it takes a lot of on the water experience. It's something you're not going to pick up on one trip, 2 trips. It's going to take you. Some people it takes several years to pick up the skill to become a good troller, and there's a big difference between trolling and just dragging your lures. If you're not focused on putting your lure while you're trolling in the right position, getting the right depth and speed, following a contour line, following a break line, if you're not doing that, you're just randomly trolling, that's dragging lures. You're not trolling. But that's a whole nother video talking about casting and trolling. But we're going to look at it in terms of buying a boat. It's a tool. So this tool, the boat, you're using it to present your lures, casting and trolling. And the most important, like if you read Buck's material, Buck's equipment, he's going to tell you when it comes to boats, smaller is better. My advice on getting the boat would be getting the smallest boat that will fit your needs. Now, if you fish the Great Lakes, big bodies of water, you obviously can't do that with a 14-foot boat or 16-foot boat on a regular basis. If you only fish the Great Lakes, then you're obviously going to need a bigger boat. So that's why you get 10 people in a room. The perfect boat is going to be different for all 10 of those people. But I'm just going to talk about what's important. If you're a multi-species fisherman, you know, like myself, I mean, I fish bodies of water from 200 acres to, the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, all these, big, huge lakes in Canada. Um, that's why I like my boat, because it's a small boat that can handle big water, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. But what what is important in buying a boat is boat control, and like Buck says, the smaller the better. And the most important thing in a boat is the beam. And when we're talking about the beam, we're talking about the width of the boat. And the wider the beam, the more it's going to take you to control that boat and move that boat around. But why? Before we talk about that, let's talk about, there's two types of steering for a boat. You have tiller handle, and you have a console steering where you got a little steering wheel here. Yeah, I'm going to give you basically two strong recommendations on getting a boat. And one of them is this right here. Tiller will give you the best boat control, hands down. Few people may argue with that, but you got your opinion, that's fine. Console steering boat. Now, if you want to become a versatile multi-species angler and you present your lures casting and trolling, the best way to do that is with a tiller handle like this, where you've got your handle, your hand on the handle, and you're moving that boat back and forth instantly, and you're able to maneuver that boat and get it good. With a side console steering like this, and I fished in one. Quick story. I was on fishing years and years ago with I was on Pinwall flowage, and I was fishing this bar, shallow structure, and a fish were moving that day. It was loaded with walleyes and white bass. Every pass skinned a walleye and white bass, and it was gangbusters. I went back to shore, grabbed a friend of mine who was up there fishing too. He had a console boat like this, and I said, "Come on, I'll take you out there." And these fish are on. So I went out there, and I just got done fishing this structure. It was a small structure. I knew exactly where it was, and I thought, yeah, won't have any problem with this console steering. Put the lines out, and I'm steering. I knew what the spot was. It, it was so much difference, night and day difference in boat control trying to hit that spot. With the tiller, I can get right on with the console. Now, granted, if I owned the console steering boat and I fished it all the time, I was more comfortable with it. I'm sure I would have done a better job, but it was an eye opener for me to know a structure and fish it with a tiller, and then go back an hour later and fish it with a console. And I couldn't. I think I made it 5 or 6 trolling passes before I was able to hit that bar just right and get a fish. But for ultimate boat control, you need a tiller. That's probably the strongest thing I'm going to recommend there, is you need a tiller. And then the second thing that makes a big difference in boat control is your beam, the width of the boat. Um, you know, Once again, smaller is the better, but to me, beam width is more important than length of the boat. But the two go hand in hand. The longer the boat generally is going to mean the wider the boat. It's hard to find uh, like my boat, for example, it's a 17-foot boat, 1611, and it's a 77-inch beam. You go to pretty much any boat manufacturer out there to get a 16 or 17-foot boat, you're not going to find many that are going to be 77 inches or narrower on the beam. They're all going to be pretty wide. And the wider the boat, the bigger the beam. With a tiller handle, just means that, if you're contour trolling a brake line, you might have to make a few extra passes because you can't get that precise boat control. But the two most important things in the boat is first, hands down, you got to have a tiller. I would rather have a super wide boat and have a tiller instead of having a narrow beam boat with a console. So the number one thing is having a tiller for that boat control. And then after that, try to find the narrowest beam you can. But it has to be custom towards your fishing. Now, if I strictly fished the Great Lakes for salmon or walleye, 100% of my fish was on the Great Lakes doing that, or like 95% fishing only for salmon and walleye, then I could see getting a big walleye boat, like this with a console steering, because those structures in the Great Lakes are huge. They're very big. You can make straight line passes, or you don't have to you're not making these sharp contour trolling passes. So once again, you have to look at the type of fishing you're doing. If I'm just on a Great Lake strictly, big bodies of water, and I'm fishing for salmon and trout, then I would see. Then I would say, yeah, your perfect boat is going to be a console steering boat. The beam really won't matter in that particular situation at all. You got to look at safety as well. So to be able to get out there, you're going to need a bigger boat, a big wide boat, console steering. You're doing Great Lakes. That's what you need, no doubt about it. If that's all I did was fish the Great Lakes, I would get a boat similar to what you see on the screen here, if not bigger. But I fish multiple lakes and reservoirs, so this boat here wouldn't cut it for me. I would have to get a tiller boat, and just the beam is so important. I mean, when I first started fishing, and it's good to start out with a small boat and gradually work your way up. When I first got into structure fishing, I rented boats, and I had two motors I bought with me. I bought an old Evinrude 5.5, and I had an 18-horse Evinrude. So if I went with two people, with a friend of mine, I would typically bring the 18. If I was going by myself, I just throw the 5.5 out there, and probably 95% of the rental boats you get are going to be 14-foot boats, fairly narrow beams. I'd probably say 66-inch beams. You're going to have really good boat control. And the beam is more important than the length. Just a quick story. I was fishing years ago before I had a boat. I was fishing a yellow lake in northern Wisconsin, and rented the boat, went out there, fished all day, and just assumed I was in a 14-foot boat. And when I brought it back to the dock at the end of the day, I pulled it up alongside one of the other rental boats and realized it was a 16-foot boat. And I didn't even dawn on me it was a 16-foot boat till I brought it back to the dock. But it had a narrow beam, so that's why I really didn't notice it. But the beam really makes a difference. Another little story: I fished first probably 3, 4, 5 years. I fished heavy and hard. It was from rental boats, and every now and then I go with a friend of mine. So I'm fishing, like I say, probably 60-inch beam boats. And then I'd go out with a friend of mine. They had a boat and they had a tiller. So I go back there, and their beam was maybe 75 inches, and I'm used to a 60-inch beam, and it was like quite an eye opener to get like, whoa, it's boat handles a lot different. It's not as tight as a smaller boat, but it's a learning process. I mean, it's just like running a marathon. You're not going to go out there and do 20 miles in one day. You're going to start out with a couple miles and just gradually work your way up. And that's sort of how it was for boats. If you're new to structure fishing, I wouldn't recommend going out and getting a big 18-foot tiller. It's really beneficial to learn on the smaller boats, get the feel, know how it feels. It took me many years to work my way up and bigger. Although I've got no desire to go get anything bigger than what I've got right now. My current boat is, once again, that Triumph boat, which unfortunately they don't make anymore. It's a 17-foot boat, and it's a 77-inch beam. And just absolutely love that boat. I'm going to show you that in a minute here, but that's really about it. Like I say, there is no perfect boat for everyone. One boat. I mean, it all depends on your fishing. If you fish nothing but you live on a small lake and 95% of your fishing is just going to be on this small lake, a 14-foot boat, similar to what you see on the screen here, is all you need. Nothing wrong with it. It all depends on the type of fishing you do. But once again, in my case, I try to fish new lakes all the time. And like I said, I fish 200-acre lakes to Great Lakes, where I'm going out, as far as 12, 14 miles in one direction in the Great Lakes to get to a spot. So um, uh, my boat is, like I call the world's smallest, biggest boat, or the world's biggest, smallest boat, whichever way you want to look at it. Um, but once again, the only recommendation I would strongly make is a tiller for the best boat control, and try to get the narrowest beam possible that you can. Uh, Once again, exception if you're just fishing nothing but the Great Lakes, big bodies of water. Um, then you can get by with something like this. But all right, well, I hope that helped clear up some boats. Talking about boats, and once again, look at it as a tool. Your boat is a tool. You got to think of it as a tool. Am I going to be able to present my lures, casting and trolling? Pretty much any boat you can, position yourself to do a good job casting. It's going to come down to the trolling, where you're going to need a narrow beam and that tiller handle to get the precision trolling you can. I should probably do another video. Maybe I'll get around to doing one later this year, talking about trolling. That's one thing that is not talked about very much anymore. And there's a big difference, like I said earlier, about dragging lures and actually trolling. Anyone go out there and drag lures, but that's fishing blind. You wanna be able to put that lure on the right depth and the right speed on that structure. Foul a break line, and when you're fishing deeper, you can make straight line passes, but it's even if you're making straight line passes, it's so much easier with the tiller. Is you get off that bar to make that quick turn and get back on that boat, get the boat turned around back on that structure again. All right, now I'm gonna take you outside and show you my Triumph and tell you about my Triumph now. Okay, here's an in-depth look at my boat. It's a 17-foot Triumph, 2012 model. I've had it for 12 seasons, and as the tagline of this boat goes, it's the world's toughest boat, and I can attend to that. 12 years, not one leak. Made out of plastic, like I say, Ropaline, and it is just a fantastic boat. I did quite a few upgrades this past year. I got new seats. I replaced my E-Tech, Evinrude E-Tech, with a Suzuki. The only reason I did that was just because the amount of hours on it. I had 3,000 hours on it. It still ran great, but just wanted a new motor just to get that reinsurance for taking these long boat rides. Casey and I quite often on Lake Michigan, when we're fishing Green Bay, I mean, we'll go 8, 9, 10 miles one way to get to a spot. When we go to Canada, we're going 12, 13, 14 miles from the boat ramp one direction. So just did an upgrade, just do the amount of hours, peace of mind. But let's see here, let me go over some other stuff here. Got the bow mounted Minn-Kota, upgraded the Minn-Kota head on it just recently to the newer iPilot model. I got the live scope on here, Garmin's live scope mounted on the trolling motor there. Yeah, I'm still learning how to use it. I mean, to be honest with you, last year was the first season with it. It really hasn't increased my catches that much. Maybe a little bit in Canada, finding schools of walleyes, but I'm sure as time goes on, I'll get better using that. It's just another tool on the boat. Got storage compartments up here, anchors, life jackets. I got my lithium battery for the trolling motor in there. That's another upgrade. Highly recommend that. I've gone 3 full days in Canada with heavy use on the trolling motor, and it lasted all 3 days. Love that. Got my live wool in here. It's held plenty of limits of walleyes and crappies and whatnot. I just recently put in this EVA flooring on the bottom. I think I really like it. I don't have to clean the boat as often. It stays pretty nice. But what I like about this boat is the way it handles. It is a 77-inch beam, which is pretty narrow for a 17-foot boat. Most boats this size are going to have a 90-inch beam, 13 inches wider than this. once again, the narrower the beam, the better control you have. But I really like my Triumph. It's too bad they stopped making them. They went out of business. This is a 2012 model. Let's see, I put a second depth finder up here just last year as well too, networked to my main Garmin unit over there. This is another upgrade I just did this past winter. Planer board holder, and it snaps into place here so I can easily take it off when we're not using it. It's gone. Really like that a lot. Storage box in here, just to keep a lot of other stuff. I got this. This is actually like a truck storage box I bought, and it fits the tackle in here really nice. As you can see here, I've got several tackle boxes here, labeled everything: spoon plugs, jump baits, medium crankbaits, large crankbaits, our walleye cranks, our crappie perch box, lightweight spoons. Got my jig box I bought. Really like this a lot too. Lots of tubes and terminal tackle here, but everything fits really nice in this box over here. Like I say, I just really love the boat. It's going to be my forever boat, you can say. Between Casey and I, one of us is always going to be using this boat. But once again, what I like about this boat is it really handles the water good for being such a small boat. I've been out in this boat. Worst conditions I was in was Green Bay. We were in solid 4-foot waves with occasional 5-footer, and I had to cross 8 miles of open water going right into the wind. And obviously it wasn't forecasted that day. After we were done fishing, the wind picked up and it surprised us. But the boat, I was really surprised how great the boat handled. Of course, you got to use your head, you know, play it smart, you know, slow down, know when you know, can't go too fast and you can't go too slow, and you got to sort of time it and watch out for that bigger wave to come. But this boat handled 4-foot waves with that occasional 5-footer. Wouldn't recommend it, but it's nice to know that we were okay in there. But it's got the right specs. It's a great multi-fishery boat, multi-lakes. I've had this thing out on 200-acre bodies of water to you know, the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and love it. Just got done cleaning it, so got the rods out, but I got rod storage on the side here, and that's my boat. Like I say, I get people asking me about my boat all the time, so there's the details. Like I say, it's unfortunate that Triumph doesn't make them anymore, because it is such a strong, tough boat. The only thing I don't like about it is, you know, you have to clean it. It gets quite a bit dirty, and about every other trip I got to come out here with some soft scrub, which is a bleach type cleaner, and wash it down and then power wash it off. But it cleans out. Now that I put this EVA flooring in, I think it's going to cut down and make it easier cleaning. I really like this EVA flooring. And I added this EVA material ruler here. Really like that too. So that's a close-up of my Triumph. Thanks for watching.